Thanks for staying with us. The Fuel Retailers Association will gather for its 6th conference as the organization also reflects on 30 years of executing its mandate. Looking at the journey over time, how would the FRA say it has done to protect and promote the interests of all fuel retailers in the country? Reggie Sibiya, Fuel Retailers Association CEO, joins us live now. Good evening to you, Mr. Sibiya, and thank you so much for your time. Before we even get into your theme this year, some of the challenges and what you've had to work around, let's share your reflections and the changes in the sector, for example, in the last 30 years, given, some of the turbulent times you've had. I mean, there's also been some advocacy work that you've also had to do. One thinks about the RAF, for example.
Thank you, Bongi, and good evening to you and also the viewers. Yes, it's been quite, an interesting journey. It's been very complex, it's been challenging, but also exciting. If you look at our industry, Bongi, it's actually been evolving. The landscape has been changing, quite fast. If you think about, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, fuel service stations were actually basically more workshops, and focusing on car parts, etc. And, convenience retailing, for example, was just something by the way. But with the changing landscape, which is driven mainly by the changing consumer habits, you will see that there's been quite a huge development in terms of convenience retailing. So we need to get ready for that change. As you know, also there's the 4IR, which is a huge disruptor, which means we need to get ready in terms of the skills and make sure that the youth is ready for new jobs. But also, more importantly, during the 30 years is the work that the FRA has been doing, mainly around, the issues of margins to ensure that the fuel retailers, businesses are sustainable as SMMEs, to ensure that we continue to grow and create more jobs. We're now sitting with jobs over 90,000 in the sector, and we're looking at creating more jobs also to support the economy of the country. We've been very involved with the issues of regulations, in particular under the Petroleum Products Act, the legislation. FRA has basically knocked at every court door. We've been in the Labour Court, we've been in High Court, we've been in Supreme Court, Constitutional Court, really protecting and promoting the interest of fuel retailers to ensure that, they are sustainable.
But how would you say, especially, on the issue of margins, how would you say that the retailers are recovering? And I ask this against the backdrop of a pandemic that was very difficult for them. And you think about the fact that also at the same time, there's rise in fuel, prices. So how have the margins, performed for them in recent times?
Very badly, actually, Bongi, because as you say, since COVID, the volumes, have not really fully recovered. That period on its own was a major crisis, and quite a number of retailers actually did not survive. They had to actually, hand back their keys back to the oil companies because they were just in so much debt and they were not able to recover. So you've got now the new breed of the incoming retailers who also are coming into a situation where actually the volumes are not as big as they used to be because, for example, there's just new ways of doing business. People are working more from home. There's also the issue of more fuel-efficient vehicles. Today's vehicles can drive longer distances for the same amount of fuel tank. So all of those things are actually playing against us. And then there's obviously the issue of illegal trading as well. So even the growth that you're seeing in retail sales is not all of it that is coming through the right channel. So all of that is actually affecting retailers. Also the issue of the margins themselves, they are actually under recovering. The issue of credit card, for example, if you swipe a credit card today, it costs the retailer 44 cents a litre, and yet that is not provided in the margin. So we've been fighting that, and we have not stopped fighting that.
Sure.
And then there's, So it's really it's a challenging situation for retailers.
And
to be honest.
and I suppose add to that, the geopolitics also unsettle quite the sector as well, because you do not know how things go and the influence there. But your theme is saying that evolve together through unity in action. And I suppose then evolution is going to be quite important. But what does it look like for the sector into the future?
So evolution looks like in the future in terms of skills, number one. So like I've mentioned, so we need to actually look at the skills for the future and look at how can we, in unity as the stakeholders in the industry, support that agenda of skills. It needs to look at the issue of technology. How does the technology affect, customer operation? Customer service, how does it also affect the business operations? As you know, for example, payment systems alone, today people are using like QR codes, to do their payments. There's a lot of other innovations in the space. So we need to get geared into that kind of, innovation. So we need also to look at the issues of just progressive partnerships with every stakeholder in the industry. How do we unite together? How do we actually ensure that we actually move along with this changing? 4IR is obviously the big agenda items. Then there's these issues of, energy transition, with the issue of carbon emissions to be reduced, the issue of electric vehicles. It's still a distant, future for us, and I've traveled to a few countries, and I'm confident that we will be better prepared for it in South Africa. But it is still a distant future, but we cannot just close our eyes to it, because when it comes, it will really change the jobs, it will change the whole market, and also our businesses as well.
And I suppose in light of what you're saying, then you're watching the developments at COP29 keenly to also see what's happening there.
Yes. And then also to add on the geopolitics that you mentioned is quite something that is something that we can't take our eyes off. As you know, there's increasing, geopolitical wars that affects the palm price. And when the palm price goes up, it affects us as well in terms of, working capital that is required. It affects us in terms of the expenses that are linked to the palm price. So we have to watch that going forward also as an industry. And that's where advocacy also comes in. We have been advocating on some of the solutions like, the Road Accident Fund. We once presented in Parliament as the association. And we are happy that the government is still talking about it. It has not dropped it completely off their list, because we still believe that there is a better solution, for all of us together in unity as the stakeholders, with the government and with the customers as well.
It sounds like the conference is timely to deal with quite the number of these issues. Mr. Sibiya, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it this evening. That's Reggie Sibiya, the Fuel Retailers Association CEO.